Hey horror fans, thanks for joining me for this review of I Know What You Did Last Summer. Cast and crew information down below, and let's start off with this IMDb plot here. In a town full of secrets, a group of teenagers are stalked by a mysterious killer a year after a fatal accident on their graduation night. Alright, so this is I Know What You Did Last Summer, the new TV series that just came out on Amazon. So, this is not the original movie. I believe it was in the 90s. Um, but that's what this is supposed to be kind of themed after. It kind of starts and kind of gives a somewhat similar kind of start, at least with the accident that kind of happens if you remember the events of the movie. For those who saw the movie, I think a lot of horror fans saw the movie. It starts with an accident out on the road, and instead of taking responsibility for it, they kind of try to cover it up, and that doesn't do so well for them, as someone knows what they've done and proceeds to come after them and make them pay. So you kind of have a similar thing happening here, um, but does have its own, I guess, characters and run of the mill and so forth. It is a little bit different, um, as far as characters and setup and storyline as what we're going through here. Um, Really, when I saw this come out, I was like, okay, it's a TV series. I don't know. Uh, you know, I guess that might be a little bit better than doing a movie. Um, but when you have, obviously the big thing here is the killer, and wanting to know who the killer is, and that's kind of why you sit through this and watch the mystery of it. And obviously, I think in the movie, at least the first one, they did a pretty good job of hiding who that killer was. And as you sit through this one, that's kind of the thing. For me, regardless of everything that's happening, that's kind of what I'm waiting for. Can I pick out who the killer is, who is eventually going to be the killer, and how does that sit? Did they do it correctly? Did they miss any loose ends there, whatever. Um, Being a TV series, and when I think you watch this, if you do turn this on, I don't know. I mean, it's on Amazon, so I don't even think it matters what it's rated. Um, but as it kind of starts, it kind of is a young cast of young teenagers here. I kind of get that. Okay, we're throwing this at that young audience there. Yes, I'm getting older. Yes, I can still watch these things, but does it mean the same as it used to? Is it as exciting as it used to be? Not really. Um, but you have this young audience, young teens here, and it's directed to a teen audience, and you have them getting in trouble. They're drinking and partying at the beginning, and of course, that's kind of how the original setup as well. Getting a little too exciting and partying too much, and it gives you the good example of bad things that happen when you kind of delve into that kind of thing. Um, so it's in a way it's kind of tilted to that kind of audience, and as you watch it, I guess I'm not gonna say that I can totally relate as much anymore to some of these movies that are to teens. Again, I'm getting older, um, but I can still sit there and watch it. I mean, it's still tolerable. I guess I'm not a complete old fart yet. Um, but some of the things you can kind of relate to, some of them maybe not. I don't know. There's different characters, different life experiences, that some of them are going through than I or even people around me went through. Well, so it's a question whether you want to sit through that or not, and that's part of it. You're gonna spend a lot of time with certain characters' lives here, and you know, yeah, I mean, it is for some, may not be for others. Of course, I'm looking for the horror, and I will say that there were some decent deaths here. Again, this is on Amazon, so I'm not sure what the filter or the ratings or whatever they're doing here. There were some decent deaths. There's one in a field, someone that gets kind of hung up pretty well. There's some bloody moments. There's a decent moment in a bathroom. Um, it does, get bloody at times. That's not, necessarily the focus. It's not, totally into that. Um, the ending is going to be different than the original. This is new, so I'm going to be as spoiler free as possible here. Um, if you saw the original, got kind of excited. You saw the killer going around chasing people and chasing the few that were left at the end. This is kind of going to do it a little bit less than that. Probably a little bit more with the dramatics and the chasing around and so forth. Um, that didn't make it as exciting. I will say, as again, you know, I guess, like I said a minute ago, this is all about the killer. I'll say that I did not figure out who the killer was. Obviously, this is 8 episodes, so obviously as it kind of winds down and more of the friends of the group here are getting killed off, you know, there's less people available to be the killers. So um, I've never proclaimed it being, as many horror movies I've seen, I've never proclaimed it being the best at figuring out who the killer is. I always say that if I do figure it out, maybe it was a little too easy. I'm going to say that I didn't figure it out in time. I guess there was something that I'd missed, and when I guess I'll try, I'm trying to be as spoiler free as possible, but I'll say this: that when the killer is revealed, that's kind of like, how could that person be the killer? There's just no way that person can be. But then they remind you of something that you may have missed, or at least I missed, or I wasn't paying attention to. And when I see that, and I think they kind of make it clear at the end, um, that kind of helps. That kind of makes me say, okay, I missed that. That makes it make more sense. They do spend the time. The killer does, spend some time um, talking and kind of giving um, some rewind of what they've done and how they were able to pull it off. So you do see that, along with this other thing that I said, kind of made me say, oh, okay, that's how they did it. Um, then at the very, very end of the show kind of ends and signs off. You see that the killer again is going to go into an even more further explanation, and I don't know why they did it. I guess they felt they needed to fill in the gaps and make sure that people knew, hey, we covered our bases and the killer is here, and they were able to pull this off, and that's it. So they kind of let the killer kind of sit there and explain how certain events happen. Now, um, I'm not that invested in this that I went back and watched it all over again and double check to make sure that yes, that could have happened, no, that couldn't have happened. It didn't inspire me to do that. I'm not inspired to do that. I'm sure maybe there are some out there that did or want to or whatever. It's fun to play I gotcha, and maybe they did screw up somewhere along the line. I tend to be, if I didn't catch it immediately, then it's good enough for me. If I read an article or something and you tell me that they screwed up here or there, I'm willing to go along with it if I can remember the facts straight. But as far as I know, the killer says what they said, and I'm gonna be like, okay, I'm gonna go along with it. I think like I said, there was one reason why and I can't really get into it because then that would spoil it. But I think when you see who the killer is, you also might be like, how could that person do it? But you'll see that there's a way that happens, and I think that maybe even if I had realized that sooner, then maybe I would have given that person more thought to being the killer. Uh, I guess I, had one or two people I kind of rooted for, hoping that they were the killer for whatever reason. But obviously that didn't turn out. I think they do a decent job of spreading it around to, at least a couple of people that possibly be the killer. But I think as they do that, you kind of realize uh, if they're giving it to you, they're probably not the killer. I think I think there's at least one person overall that no matter how much they give and take with that person, you probably, or at least for me, again, it's just me, from my point of view, I kind of thought, maybe, they still could have done it. But yeah, they didn't, and I failed, so I don't know. As far, I kind of like to go through a little bit of the story here. And I guess I'll make it quick since I've already kind of given you my thoughts. Basically, you have uh, twins here, or two sisters who are very close. I don't know if they were twins or not, but they're very close. They look very similar, very close. And basically, they're both in two different parts of their lives here. One has basically fallen apart because their mother has passed away, and the other is the more popular girl who has lots of friends and is very loose with her sexuality, very loose with doing drugs, is very open to every and anything. A little bit of the wild child, I guess you would say. So you have two sisters who are at the end, in different paths and different places. One has lots of friends, the other one has like no friends. Very different places. So the one with no friends basically, um, at the beginning you see her come back, and you kind of see uh, when she comes back, she finds some writing in her closet and whatever, saying, "I know what you did last summer." And then this is kind of one of those stories that kind of are in the present but flash back to obviously the year before and what was going on. So what you have here, and this is going to be a little bit of a spoiler, at least to set up the story. So I don't know how you guys feel about that. I'm not going to give away. Obviously, I think the biggest spoiler is the killer. I'm not going to give that away, but there's a little bit of a something going on here, and that's kind of how the story sets up. And hopefully you guys don't consider this a spoiler or not. But I'm going to basically tell you who's going to get hit here in the road, and kind of explain what is going on after that, after the fact here. So flashing back to the events of the year before, you kind of get that introduction to the sisters. The sisters kind of meet. There's a party going on. It's kind of weird because the father takes the daughter that has no friends to the party, and that's kind of weird in itself. But it is what it is. Um, they go to the party. The two sisters kind of meet. They have an argument. It's clear that they still cannot get along. They still have issues. Um, at first it seemed like it was okay, but then apparently there's a boy that the one sister with no friends really liked for a long time. Gets a moment to talk with him, but here comes the other sister, and long and behold, you find out that that sister, like I said, wild child, has slept already with this guy, which pisses the other sister off. And basically, now it's all bets are off. She hates her, and vice versa. Um, Later on that night, the friends get in the car. One of the sisters is in the car. Boom, driving down the street. Boom, you know who they hit? One of the sisters. Um, so you having an event now where one sister is now dead, one sister is alive, and let's say we're gonna play a little bit of game of trading places here. Um, and I guess I can leave it at that. Let's just say you're gonna find out which sister got hit, what sister's still alive, what um, they kind of play a game of swap there because of the incident that happens, and the sister that's still living is basically gonna be playing a false life. Um, Very few people know her true identity, and that's going to be play a role in it. Um, as this goes on, you're going to find out more and more of the events that went on that night. How that sister ended up on the road, how the other sister ended up in the car, more events of their life at home with their dad, um, some really oddness with their going on with their mom, and why she's dead. And then you're going to be introduced to friends. There's going to be a group of friends that obviously the ones that were in the car, and they're the ones that are basically going to be picked off, as the series goes on. Along with some other people, they don't shy away from killing some other people. You're going to see some other people die here that weren't in the car. So it's not just them, other people as well that are going to meet the doom. Um, Again, the killer was a surprise to me. I didn't go back. I'm not gonna go back and clarify that they could have killed each one. They say it at the end. I'll take them at their word for it. Um, you know, with something else that kind of goes along with this person, were they able to pull it off? Yes. If it was them completely by themselves, I would have said, um, maybe not. I don't know. Um, and I think that might even play, a role in uh, why you think that it's not this person. I don't know. I should shut up before I really spoil it. Anyway, I'm not gonna say whether it did justice or not to the original movie or not. I think the original movie kind of gives this a starting place for this, but I think this is its own series. Obviously takes the same name, but again, and starts with the accident. But it's a different town, different kids, different setting. They're in, like, I don't know, Hawaii or some beach community. Um, so it's just a lot of differences there in that regard. So I'm not necessarily gonna make this a huge direct comparison to the movie. The movie is a movie. This is the show. Um, they do their own thing as far as the killer and so forth. Um, it follows along the same line, but I don't know that it's you know I don't know how much you want to compare. And that I'm not one for these remakes, so am I glad they didn't do a movie? Yeah, because again, once you kind of know the story and you know how it's gonna go, it's just the same thing over again. Just like I'm not sure what they're gonna do with this new Scream movie. I mean, we've seen several of them. It's always the same thing at the end. I mean, what is the big difference here? I don't know. Um, so at least the TV series. I will say, it is interesting how they did the ending. I think they left it open. I don't know if they're at this point whether they're having thoughts of a season 2 or not. Um, I not necessarily begging for a season 2. If there is a season 2, I'd probably turn it on just to kind of see kind of the direction they go. Um, I guess they would have to introduce a hell of a lot more people, or maybe move a couple of years forward just to have some more people to kill, because there's just not of the group that remained, and of the characters that survived. There's not not a lot of main ones. So I guess they would have to introduce several new characters, or maybe move to a new location. Um, Assuming they wanted this killer to continue. Maybe they do something else where there's, somebody comes after this killer and kills them, and maybe some other people. I don't know. I guess there's different avenues they could go. Um, but I guess they would really have to start anew, and maybe in a new place, um, or years forward. I don't know. I guess there's room for it, but if they left it off as it is what it is. We'll see. I don't know what the viewage and how well it's done in Amazon or not. Sometimes you can kind of tell with Netflix shows or movies, but I guess it's a little harder to tell with Amazon. Anyway, that's enough with this one. As far as Pools of Blood, I'm gonna give it 2.5. It was okay. Like I said, they Is it totally needed? Maybe not. It's definitely tilted towards an certain audience. Will that audience enjoy it? Maybe a younger teen audience will enjoy this. Maybe they can relate more to the characters and so forth. Like I said, the deaths weren't bad. Um, you know, you're not going to see, as much of moments of a killer killing it. You're going to see a little bit more of the aftermath in some cases. But still was okay. I guess, that's the word for it. This was okay. Total must see, not necessarily, but if you're willing, go ahead and put it on. So that's 2.5 pools of blood, and that is out of 5. And we'll leave it at that. Horror's Gory Reviews.blogspot.com. You can find that link below. That's where you'll find more written reviews. The video reviews are there as well. But if you're just interested in the video reviews, you should subscribe to the channel. Like the video and don't like it, that's fine either way. Your choice. I'm not going to pressure you, not going to beg for it. Comment section, if you want to comment on this video, this TV series I know you did last summer. Feel free to. If you want to reach out to me for me to review something, feel free to do so there as well. Also, Twitter and Facebook information there as well, down below. So the same, reach out to me there as well, with anything horror related and so forth. With that, it's the holidays. It's not really the summer, but maybe I'll know what you did last summer. So I'll catch you on the next review, horror fans.